build and live in tiny homes. My daughter already owns her house to operate. I own my house to operate. So just learning, as she said, not paying the man any more money. Just paying our property taxes. So I'm just happy to be here. I'm glad I connected with Josh.
Yeah, I'm so glad you made it. That's great.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. She's a new grandma, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, Gail. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Say hi.
Hello. It's great to be here. Sorry I was at work late. I am interested in affordable housing, affordable ways to live, and I started the City Co-Housing Coalition last year. You came to one of our sessions. This is fabulous, and you've got a great convener. I would say that one of the models I heard about was that Josh told me about of houses, in case you don't know what co-housing is, of a collection of tiny houses around, and then a common house for people to come together for shared events and shared meals and shared stuff. That's co-housing.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of ways to do it, and this is overwhelmingly amazing that so many of you are interested in this. So
Yeah.
you're doing a great job. Thanks.
We're going to have to get a bigger room soon.
That's a great problem to have.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, did I miss anybody? Everybody good? Hello, guys.
It's actually working now, so you can say hi to the virtual world.
Hello, virtual world. Welcome to Tiny House Collective in Kansas City. This is our meeting. Hi.
Carry on.
All right, so there's a lot to go through tonight, so I hope we get to it. The things highlighted right there, I want us to actually kind of conversations about, but there's a few things to get through. Up top, you will see there's a sign-in, and you can do this from your phone or your computer, is that right? Or is it just phone?
Yep, anywhere.
Okay, so if you have your phone on you, you can just go ahead and sign in, and that's like our sign-in for the evening. And
we all hit it at the same time, or should we kind of get it?
oh, just throughout the meeting, just as long as you log in and just say hi that you're here. Yeah, so that's become the easiest way for us to do it. And if you don't have a phone, then we can do it the old-fashioned way and just pass around a piece of paper. If you don't have that, we'll add you on later. So, what's the password? Password to the library is historic. Historic. So the Tiny House Jamboree just happened. So they said, come to this thing and we'll see how many people showed up. And they had over 15,000 people show up to this event. They weren't all there at once.
Per day.
Per day. I mean, it was phenomenal. There were so many people there. And it was like walking into the biggest family reunion you've ever been to, except you liked everybody in this reunion. It was so, everybody, it was very diverse. There was everything from, veterans and conservatives and liberals and a gay group and a Hispanic group, and everybody just had the same intention. It was magical. And that sounds kind of dorky, but it really was. And I went on a walk and I just burned the crap out of my head.
Still feeling?
But it was so nice because it was so hot. No humidity. It was really lovely. As Bridget said, Jay Schaefer was there. If you all know who Jay Schaefer is, he's kind of pioneered the whole tiny house movement. And it was very poignant because this was the first time that he had ever spoken to a group of like-minded people. And he led on to the tiny fact that the reason he got into building tiny homes was he was homeless. And he felt comfortable sharing that with the group. And that was his venture. He was living in a trailer, not because of intention, but because he had to. And the whole venture behind his creative force was designing a home that he could live in, that he could afford. And from that was born this, movement. And so it was filled with builders who had ideas. It was filled with groups from all over the country. There's a few people from Europe who came to it. There's Canadians showed up. It was really lovely. If anyone can go to it next year, I highly recommend it. You will have everything at your fingertips, and everyone answers your questions, and no one's a jerk. It was just so cool. Everybody was very like-minded.
Stand in line for an hour and talk to people, and then nobody fussed and nobody complained.
Yeah, it was great.
It was beautiful.
Is it gonna be the same place?
They haven't determined that yet. Most likely it will be, but we also got a little bit of exciting news in that Darren from Eco Cabins is open to the idea of having a mini jamboree of that same port here in Kansas City. Because there was enough talk about what's happening here in Kansas City that he wanted to support it. So we're one of the target cities where we might have kind of a mini jamboree before the big one. So go Kansas City! I'm very, very excited about that. Okay, so we have two projects going right now. We have an office site, which is the office project. I didn't put the address on there. It's at 21st and Brooklyn. We have a civil engineering firm who is doing the survey for these, and he found out two interesting things about the office property at 21st and Brooklyn, where we're going to have our tiny house model, where we'll have an office and a bedroom and then a rental unit so people can come and live in a tiny house space and experience it, and we can also have classes there when it's not rented. It's at the corner, it's a beautiful corner. There's no sewer there. So that might be an into the city for us to composting and gray water recycling instead of a sewer hookup. It's never been approved, but Ted Franzine, who is kind of the head in the city development, is actually right now crafting the zoning, or not the zoning, but the codes that would allow for this. But it only is allowed if you can't hook up to sewer. And when we were looking at this property, we didn't know that there was not a sewer hookup there. So this is kind of serendipitous that we might be doing the first model of a composting gray water recycling without a sewer hookup, which goes to our sustainability mission very well. So cross your fingers, that's in the works. On that site, it's zoned manufacturing, so there is the chance that we can build a fabrication shed so that we can back trailers in and build there on site and be legal.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
Yeah. So the board is going to be discussing whether or not we should approach Missouri Bank, because we were going to do this out of pocket, but we're going to be deciding whether or not we should approach Missouri Bank about financing the shed and some costs for the construction on that site so that we can have it and have a place to build and have the tiny house rental and our office. So we'll keep you posted on that. That least, what?
What about approaching Butler? You know, put a building up on the lot. They have so much money, and they do.
I will approach anybody.
They do a lot of not-for-profit work, a lot of town and country, quite frankly, right now, but they have historically, helped out a lot of lower income.
Send me a contact, or if you know somebody,
I'll check. I used to know don't work there anymore, right? So probably find somebody.
Oh yeah, I'll talk to anybody.
And why finance it if someone would donate it?
What's that?
Why finance it if someone would donate it?
Well, I would love that. We got our structure donated, so this would just be the fabrication site that we would be financing. So, but yeah, hell, send me links. I'll pander to anyone. So. Then the East 78th property. You've seen the little video of that. We had one very big red flag come up on this, and it's kind of scary. It's in this property. About 2/3 of it is in a 100-year flood zone, which means it would be very hard to get insurance on these houses if we built on this property. Yes?
Two things. One, isn't this the place where we're gonna put it on wheels? And two, you can't get insurance on tiny houses on wheels either.
And why would it be hard to get flood insurance?
It's expensive.
It's not expensive at all. By the federal government.
But so you can't get insurance on tiny houses. not
Well, you
against
can't get, this development was gonna have slabs, and then we were going to impart the driveways so that when we get the exemption, that they'll be able to park there.
Oh, I thought Habitat was here with slabs and this one was gonna be for wheels.
We don't have a joint project with Habitat.
No?
No.
What happened to the one that we,
They decided on larger footprints, all on slabs. So we we're still working, we still want to do a project together, but they switched their vision to go back to traditional sized homes. I'm going to talk to you about the insurance thing. But we have our civil engineering firm is working on that actively with the city to see if this flood zone exemption, if it still exists. It was given back in 2007. I don't know if it's going to change, but anyway. Land bank, we put the offer in on the property, and I came back to the land bank and I said, hey, we put this offer in and it's in a flood zone. Did you know about that? And like, well, no, we didn't. And we've been talking back and forth, and kind of result of that though was that the land bank is now actively looking for parcels for us. They sent me over some to go look at, because I think they were like, oh crap, that didn't go so well. So they're now kind of on our side and looking for us. So that's good, because we want to have the one village, but we want to replicate this. So we always need to be looking for new parcels.
This is the 2.5 acre tract you're talking about?
Yes.
78th Street?
Yeah.
78th and what?
Between Prospect and Agnes. Yeah, and if anybody wants to drive by it, it's this street. You're kind of driving down Prospect through the hood, and then you take a left onto East 78th, and it's like you enter Park. It's like this whole long street that's pretty much by itself, and Land Bank owns a lot of the property around that, so there's room for expansion. So that's, if you ever want to go by it, go by it.
Which corner does it sit on?
It's on the south side on East 78th, about halfway. It's a short block, and so it's like right in the middle. And there's just a very small entrance to it, and you can drive right into it, and it opens up into this, like, well, you've seen the video.
several hundred times.
I know. I really want this flood thing to go away. Excuse me. This is the website of the civil engineer who is working on our project. They are currently doing their work pro bono. But like the 2.5 acre site, I was really shocked. The civil engineering aspect of development is expensive. So it's kind of maybe a little fortunate that there's going to be a buffer time here as we work out this floodplain thing, because we have to figure out the whole finance aspect of that, because the project we're getting a little bit of project creep. We're kind of leaving 350,000 for the village and kind of creeping toward 400. So we just have to keep the budgeting in mind. So like I said, that's the civil engineer, and this is the architect website. And this is all on Facebook Minutes. So if you've got a computer and can pull it up, you can see it closer instead of this little tiny thing. The architecture firm has been enormously helpful. They have been walking me through and connecting our group with all the people that we need to do this with. And the architecture firm is doing it all pro bono. So they have my praise. If you go to their website, you look at it and you're like, dang, these guys are working for us. They're a very big firm. The structure. We've been talking a lot about what the village is going to look like. Can you raise your hand if you are somebody who wants to live in a village setting? So so it's quite a few. And raise your hand if you want your tiny house on your own piece of property unto yourself. Okay. All right. So if you go back, if you're looking on the website, on the Facebook webpage right now, if you go back out to files, there is another file called co-op versus, or condo versus co-op. And Glenn Sell, our construction and newly anointed realtor, do you mind coming up and giving the points on that? I can, do you want me to put up the document you made? Or can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can. Yep. Oh, crap, I can't see that far.
Let me go back out to my phone.
Am I on the arrow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right there.
Closer, closer. Hot.
Where am I at now?
Up, okay.
Left.
Next up, up a little bit. No, up, down.
There you go.
Cool, all right.
There's the blind lead.
Yeah, we got the one guy with glaucoma back here. Like the desktop. Okay, go, Glenn.
Okay, he just kind of asked me to put together something that kind of describes the difference between condominium and co-op. Since the villages are kind of looking at the co-op possibility, but you know, reading along, condominiums are usually attached. Owners own their own little piece of the building. Usually there's things like swimming pools and clubhouses, things like that, that also belong with condominium, and that's all also owned by the you know, each person that owns their condominium. You get into let's see here. The condominiums will have an association that will collect fees and things like that that go for maintenance. That maintenance can be all kinds of things. Let's see what else here. We got, scroll up a little bit. Up. Or scroll down, or whatever.
Yeah,
It disappeared.
Oh my God.
that one?
Yeah.
Maybe I need to do that part. You do this.
Well, just mostly just the differences between the two organizations, because what we're doing is kind of creating a hybrid. It is
Right, I was gonna say, when we get to the co-op part, the basic definition on a co-op kind of doesn't really 100% apply to what they're doing, because the co-op says that, you know, each person that is there owns a portion of the land and everything, whereas this one, the land will be
in the trust.
And then each person will own their own tiny home, but then you will still have, like most co-ops, the association will be not a separate part of the village, but it will be a part of the village. So all the people that are living there will get to decide, you know, well, various things that will apply to that little village. But a co-op still also has to abide by any fair housing, in a word now. Regulations, right. So, you know, whatever applies in the community, you know, leash laws, things like that, you know, whatever applies to that community in general will apply there. But then the people of that co-op kind of get to build their own rules as to, you know, when they want loud music, when they don't want loud music.
Well, I think, having lived in 2 co-ops, you don't actually own anything of the co-op. You own shares in the larger piece. It's like issuing stock. And the amount of shares that you own in the larger company is based upon your investment in your investment in that larger piece. So if you're just getting a 1,000 square foot out of a 100,000 square foot property co-op, you would only own 1%, et cetera. So, your votes usually go accordingly. The more you own, the larger your investment in that community, in that co-op, the more votes you get in an overall vote as well.
Because the co-op goes down, you lose your property rights. It's a condo.
And a majority rules, so if for some reason you become a thorn in someone's side, you could be voted off the island pretty easily. by 51% of the co-op. And if that happens to be the larger percentage owners, percentage investors, what's a better word, percentage owner of the co-op, then you're gone. Now, I mean, the good news is you have a bigger say. You have far more, I mean, again, I've been through 2 of these now. One in Boston, actually one here in Kansas City. And you do have a bigger say, but it's a little precarious.
Right.
And again, if the whole property loses value, your percentage of investment in that also goes down.
So this is, like I said, this is in one of the files, and it's good to read through because as the tenant groups form, these are kind of the 2 models that are out there, the co-op versus the condo. But people who are going to be using the land within the trust can kind of create their own version of how that tenant group is going to act, taking pieces from the co-op, from the condo side, and making it their own. So Glenn put all of this together, and I really urge anybody who's interested in the village concept to go through this and to do their own research too, because we would be creating the entity that's going to be building this village, and whomever is participating has equal say in how that creation happens. So that's kind of basically the point I wanted to get the condo and the co-op. People thinking about the structure they want.
I have a question about the mix of uses. So if you wanted to build your own tiny home on a slab there, you will be allowed to. In that case, would you own the real estate as well as the land? And if you're doing slabs for people to move on wheels on and off of, how does the overall property then work as a valuation or?
Well, and that's the point after the co-op and condo thing is I was going to explain what the trust is. So the land that the nonprofit gets, we're going to buy, and it comes into our trust, which basically means for 99 years you can only do farming, agriculture, and tiny houses. That's the only use that you can do on the land within the trust. People then can form the condo co-op hybrid group of tenants. They can either, as a tiny house on wheels, they can decide who needs financing for their build, who doesn't need financing. If somebody with a tiny house on wheels just wants to rent space on the co-op, they can do it that easily. If they need financing, then Missouri Bank is going to group all 12 of these, they would group everything together as one legal entity as opposed to 12 individuals applying for a $30,000 loan, which you can't get. So what people would pay would be commensurate with what they took to build their tiny house. It's a very delicate dance. So that's why I want people to start educating themselves on what a co-op is, what a condo is, and what they want out of their tenant group.
How do you account for improved value? Once you take over this land and improve it, then the overall value increases. And if you bought in at some point and built something on that, would you also gain in that?
No,
In that improvement?
the improved value would stay in the trust, because then we as a nonprofit then take that improved value and then finance the next village. Your home is a separate entity, like a condo. You can buy and sell it as long as you obey whatever the tenant group laws have set up.
Got it.
Yeah, it's
I got it,
complex.
I got it.
And assuming that there will be more than one tenant group, I certainly hope,
Mm-hmm.
each tenant group will act independently and have their own set of rules, or
Yep.
is it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why, like Dimitri and I got together the other day, and he has the Tipsy Red Fox, which is, oh, am I in the way?
No, you.
Which is a great thing where you get together, you be artistic, you drink, and you have a good time. It's a great gig. So like an artisan co-op. So you have artists living in their tiny house, and instead of a common house where people get together to eat and drink, their common house is an art gallery or a classroom. Single parents, their tiny house is a daycare center. People like me who just want to live in my tiny house and interact as little as possible, we can have it just all painted black with, So that's what needs to happen is like-minded folks with that same vision, we start forming these communities so that when we have the land is in the trust, Tiny House Collective gets financing for the overall build from the value of the land. Then the people who have participated in building then pay back that, and once they've fulfilled their contract of paying back to build, they own their home, like a condo, and can buy and sell. So it's a way for, if you need it, for folks to get financing, because financing a tiny house build is very hard to do. It's been done once in Kansas City, so it's not impossible. But coming together as a group, as a legal entity, to build a $350,000 project, that's like a traditional home loan for the banks, and that's much more feasible for them to do. And Missouri Bank is eager to help us do this. So, should I come and do that? I'm sorry. I'm going to jump back to this.
Thanks.
Well, they wouldn't give anybody a loan for less than $40,000. So because one of the banks loans, if they can put together, I think it's still there. Obviously, they're trying to. We have more borrowing power than we would. So that's what it is. So 12 people to build on it, and out of that 300,000.
So my idea, these next things in bold, I just kind of wanted to get into groups and start discussing this as folks who are interested in the village community. If you're not interested in the village community aspect, I was thinking maybe we could congregate for like 20 minutes over here, and you can talk about the construction aspects of how you're going to be doing it. Start networking, like the people who are builders, if you want to come over here and start talking with people about the actual building of the tiny house, and so that they can get knowledge about what's ahead of them. So if you want the tiny house individual build, how about coming over into this area on this half of the room. And if you want to talk about the village concept on this side of the room, about what would work for you guys. Do you need financing? Do you want to live in a community? What kind of, what's that going to look like?
Suggest we have these format so that all the notes can take it this time.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. One laptop per group, and just kind of record what you talk about, and then you can just email it to me. Yeah.
We're gonna split up, if you wanna put the notes
Sure.
on the group.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Nice job, Moses.
It's on the working
Thanks everybody who stopped in to view the meeting. We're gonna sign off now as we're breaking into our working groups. I apologize for the tech problems that we had at the beginning of the meeting. Hopefully next month we'll have this a little more streamlined, but thanks again for watching. And as a reminder, you can follow up on our Facebook page at Tiny House Collective Kansas City, or you can also find information on becoming a member of our group at www.tinyhousecollective.org. Thanks. Bye.